fuck up. It's time to talk business. Jared Taylor, Matt Best, and Evan Hafer proudly present Blackhearted. Sponsored by BlackRifle Coffee Company and Arson Wave.
Well, hello again. All right, what we have tonight, we've got Richard Ryan and Donnie Vincent again. This is part 2. So we got so absorbed in the last conversation, we actually didn't really talk much about business. So
Right.
This time, we're going to talk about business. I'll try to keep the conversation flowing specifically about
Stay on
that.
point.
You know, you're a fascinating guy. I can't really lie. So
Appreciate it. Coming from a fascinating guy, that's really appreciate it.
Well, thank you, sir.
Yeah.
I appreciate that. So we want to get into the business of hunting or monetizing your passion, right? And I guess that's a really weird way to put it, but that's kind of the way it is, I suppose, which is how do you have managed, I believe, and you can correct me if I'm wrong, you've managed to make money doing what you love. Is that correct?
Yes. Yep. I'm and maybe not a lot of money or as much money as others in the industry, but I've just been very selective in I've always tried to control my message and not have my opinion's not for sale. Right. So whether it be clothing or a bow or an arrow or a broadhead, there is no amount of money that's going to buy my opinion. So if I think you're a badass dude or a badass company and you're making really badass gear, sincere badass gear, not infallible, right? Because we find failure in all of this stuff. There isn't anything that isn't going to fail. Then we can talk, and I'd much rather talk to companies. I hate the term sponsorship. Mm-hmm. I'd much rather talk to you on a capacity of doing R&D with your company, and then also talking about media assets. And I know that might be just calling it a different name, but that's where we really like. I'd much rather use, like I work with Kafaru, is one of the companies that I work with a lot. I use their TP, and I paid full retail for all the gear that I used at Kafaru, and I believe they had no idea who I was or what I was doing, and then eventually so many people were calling them saying, I want to buy what Donnie Vincent uses. I'd like to buy the Donnie Vincent setup, and they're just like, we don't know who that is. You know? So
that's awesome.
That sounds super, but
it's worth more than a sponsorship.
Right. Yeah, and so then Then he just contacted me out of the blue, and he's like, will you help make our gear better? Not that I'm a guru or a ninja. It's just that when you use things, whether you're awesome or you suck, when you use things, you're like, if I use this stake, like they used to come with plastic tent stakes, which are absolutely horrible.
Yep.
Now they come with MSR aluminum straight stakes, which are better, but still not good.
Yep.
And I just started talking to them about MSR makes a tent stake called the Hurricane. It's a corkscrew. Yeah. And when you're camping in really harsh wind, nasty conditions where if my shelter blows down, I'm in big trouble. I'm in considerable trouble. I like having these corkscrew stakes in. So little things like that, little things like that. But that's, so, Kafaru, and then, the bow that I shoot is from Expedition, and I work with those guys, and I have no idea how to design a bow. So that's a little bit more sheepish, but I do tell them what shoots nice and is accurate and what works for me in the field. And then I tell them about things that I break.
And that's pretty interesting. A lot of people, we're in the business of social media marketing, so we have substantial followings, and people will send BlackRifle stuff every day. And we were talking about it, like they send BlackRifle stuff every day, and the expectation is that when people send you things,
please use it.
Please use it.
Please use it.
And sometimes you actually get a backlash, which is like, why didn't you post? Because I sent you this thing that's like $300. And it's like, I don't like it, but I don't want to be an asshole. I don't want to, email them back and go, it's a pile of shit. Mm-hmm. And I appreciate it, but I'm going to just box it up and I'm going to send it back to you. Mm-hmm. But even then, you look like an asshole. It's like lose, lose, lose all the way around. Mm-hmm. I'm not an asshole, but I do the same thing, which is I'm very precise about what weapons we use. I've turned down every weapons manufacturer. And honestly, the pistol that I use, the guy doesn't even return my emails.
See?
And I'm not.
I live in that same realm. Like the guys that literally all right people, I'm like, hey, I'm Donnie Vincent. I know you don't know who I am, but please take 2 seconds to watch something because I'd really like to use your gear, and I'll never hear back from them. But then I have somebody at the Pink Baboon Company, and he's like, we'll pay you $1 million if you'll just walk past this stick of gum.
Right.
Yeah.
Please.
Well, you and I have had these conversations before, and I think I've ran into that a lot in the past too. And everyone would ask me, well, why do you do so much stuff when it comes to video games and stuff? Clearly, you enjoy the firearms world and all this other stuff. I've never taken a firearm sponsor, ammunition, or any of that for that simple fact, because we do get stuff in the mail, like you were talking about your UPS guy with all your bows and stuff. I mean, these manufacturers are constantly sending stuff, and they come with those strings, and it just wears you down. It's like every single time I post on Instagram, I need to tag this person or whatever. So for me, I found that the entertainment industry and the video game industry were my avenues for monetization.
Sure.
Right? Because they have the big, big budgets for marketing and stuff along those lines. So how have you found, it's expensive to go to the Arctic Circle for
It is.
a month.
Yeah.
So
It really is.
how are you really doing this? Is it with your movies? Are you doing it with that stick of gum, or?
It's almost all, originally it was just me investing in myself and just saying like, I talked to my crew essentially and said, hey, nobody's going to really make real money. Like I'll pay for everybody's travel. I'll pay for everybody's expenses, like a small day rate. But let's just try to make a really cool film, see if people respond to it. If they do, we'll take the next step. If they don't, high five, peace out, and we all go about our way. But now how we make money is selling our films. We just launched a t-shirt this year, so selling our t-shirts, and then we do some stuff where we sell photography for other companies can buy. Like if somebody calls and say, hey, we need a really cool photo of a wolf, we'll sell them a picture of a wolf or things like that. And then now as our company started to grow and people started to see the work, companies, let's just call it like you guys, reach out to me and say, hey, we want to do a really cool commercial for BlackRifle Coffee Company. And to be clear, we don't do your commercials, so I don't want to.
It's a shame. It's a shame.
But a company may. I mean, I don't care if it's Kleenex, and we have done some stuff. I mean, we've filmed babies in diapers, and it's. So through Sigmanta, through the production company, we've started to do production for other companies, and then selling our films. We've sold our films. It's one of the coolest things, I think. But we've sold our films in now like 60 different countries, 58 different countries. I mean, I'll literally get fan mail. I use that term loosely as well. I probably don't have any fans, but I get people that are interested in our work. Will literally write me from Iraq. Literally a resident of an Iraqi citizen will literally send me photos of the park near their house and say, yeah, I go in here at lunch and watch the birds, and I think about like the Rivers Divide, and I think about the things that you've done, and when I go over here for lunch. And so, it's just really cool to have that reach. But that's basically how it works. And I'm not opposed to working with companies, but it just has to start with who owns or is running that company, the gear that they're making, and then how they want to engage. If they just want to buy market share, they want to buy my opinion, they just literally want eyeballs to do this stuff, I'm not your guy.
Right.
I'm not your guy.
Well, it's really interesting to me because we do that. I search out like large social media following, and most of the time the conversation literally starts like, I like what you, and truly I really don't reach out to people we don't like. Logan's shaking his head because he does half of it. It's like we reach out to people who are like, we really like what you're doing on social media. We'd like to work with you. Would you like to work with us? And that's just the way that the conversation starts.
That's the easiest.
10 out
That's
of
the
10
best.
times.
Yeah.
And if they don't respond or if they don't want to, it's not that big of a deal because we keep going until there's somebody that really wants to work with us.
Yeah.
And it's way better to find a relationship that's like it's the give, the take, and where you can create something better than just an exchange of money. Where it's like, okay, so here's $10, give me my stack, give me my picture of the gum.
Yeah.
And I think it's really interesting, from your perspective, what you've created a vehicle outside of hunting to make sure that you can still hunt, the production of it.
Yeah.
So there's similar parallels between Black Rifle Coffee, the way that Evan, God, you're tall, the way that Evan runs Black Rifle Coffee, and he does it differently. He doesn't follow the model of any of the other coffee companies in the world. Would you say that's a fair statement?
No, I don't care.
So you agree with me?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. I mean, I'm saying I don't care about the model. I mean, I look at the market, I see what people are doing, but ultimately it is what it is. I do what I do.
So the parallel in the hunting world, why don't you have a TV show? Because when I think of the hunting world, you're the only person in the hunting world that doesn't have a TV show. It's Cam Haynes. Mm-hmm. But Cam Cam's got an Instagram, and he runs 70 miles a day and does triceps and bench press. He's a great dude. Mm-hmm. But you two are the only people that don't have a TV show. Mm-hmm. Which is similar to Black Rifle. They're doing it differently. Evan's not following any model that anyone's. He's forging his own path. Mm-hmm. Better product, better price, better delivery system, and it's a brand you can attach to. It's the same thing with you. So why not a TV show?
Several reasons. One of the big reasons is I don't want the work to come across commercialized. And when you do it, everything is interrupted with commercials. And then I'm not going to spend a dime to get my...
Let's get into that because I do want to talk about that, the way that works.
Yeah, so in the hunting channels and a lot of channels, actually, there's major channels that are starting to go to this because some of the smaller channels have opened their eyes to them. People are buying airtime. So
I'm sorry, you're gonna have to explain that to me. People like the hunters are buying.
Yep. So if you want a hunting TV show, you want me to do a hunting TV show brought to you by Black Rifle Coffee Company. Mm-hmm. So you pay $250,000 to the outdoor channel for all the airtime, and then I go and film a TV show for you, and then every time I have a commercial break, you run a Black Rifle Coffee commercial, and then I wear the t-shirt while I'm working out, or I wear the t-shirt when I'm shooting my bow, and I walk to my car and there's a sticker on my car.
It's actually a little worse than that. So let's remove any company from this.
Okay.
So Donnie decides I'm going to have my own hunting television show. Mm-hmm. So Donnie goes to one of the networks, Outdoor Pursuit Sportsman, and cuts them a check and buys his slotting time on Thursday night at 9 p.m. Donnie then goes and films all of the 13 episodes on his dime. He pays for this.
And I have to kill.
Yeah,
I have to kill. So I have to kill animals
every episode.
Every animal. You don't have to kill every episode, but I have to start now hunting with a stopwatch. I have to start like some of the guys I talked to today. They asked me, hey, this question is so bizarre, but they say, hey, what'd you kill this year? And I say I shot an Asiatic water buffalo and 4 does. And they hang their head because that's a major failure if I had a TV show. But for the film world, I'm kicking ass for me.
So Donnie goes to you and pays the network for the airtime, films the content, creates the content, then gives it to the network to put on the TV. And then the network sells commercials during his show that he paid for. Yeah,
and I can sell them too, right? Like they'll give me
half. Yeah.
That's right. They'll give me stuff, so then I'll go to a gun company and say, hey, and this is what they tell me. I come in your booth and I say, hey, I'm different, man. I'm different. I'm going to do X, Y, and Z. So if you want to give me, you send me guns and then you pay me X amount of dollars and then I'm sponsored by your company.
Pro staff.
And then that's kind of how it works. So, the reason I do it, I'm not going to pay for my content to get on TV. If somebody wants to pay me to put my content on TV, we'll talk.
Right.
But I'm not going to pay for it. I'm not going to kill on a stopwatch. And I'm not denouncing anyone that does this. It's just not for me. It's just not for me. Just not for me. And then I don't want all of the commercial interruption. I don't want to commercialize this because it's too intimate of an act for me. It's too sincere of an interaction with the wild world. And I'm only here for a short time, right? We're a fragile being. We don't have long lives in grand perspective. So I just want to enjoy my ride. I want to stay in my lane, if you will, and hopefully maybe inspire a few people and move on. I don't want to chase I mean, don't get me wrong. I walked away from a lot of money, which, I have a little mini temper tantrum every time I do, and I smash my head against my steering wheel, and I tell myself in the rearview mirror how bad I suck at making money. And, as I'm driving my Toyota Tacoma that has 360,000 miles on it, and the tailgate doesn't work, and, everyone else has a Ford Super Duty, and I hate that sometimes because I want a Ford Super Duty.
Right.
And, but I have to lick the lollipop of mediocrity to get the Ford Super Duty, and I don't want to do that. If Ford came to me and said, hey, love what you're doing. Here's a truck. Here's some dollars. Go do cool stuff. Inspire people. Do it on your time, on your watch. Rock and roll. Then and the companies that I work with right now, they've come to me and said, we would love help development in gear. Here's X amount of dollars. Go do rad shit. Bye. And I just met with one of my companies that I work with recently, and he's like, you're the best guy I work with because you never, ever, 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 ever call me. Ever. He's like, I don't even know if you're alive until like, oh, there you are. But he's like, but then content shows up, and he's like, it's awesome. And like right now, the film we're doing right now is we've been filming it for 5 years.
Wow.
Now, if people were paying me to like crank this film out 5 years ago, like, hey, you went to Kodiak Island for 30 days, we need a film out of this. Well, it's going to be that shallow, right? I'm only there for 30 days. But, if you had to write a book on a single deployment, you might have sensational stories that cover through an entire book. But if you had to write about your entire time, it's going to be either a bigger book or it's going to be a richer story.
Right.
And so this one we've been filming for 5 years, and we have something to hang our hat on, and I think it's going to be very well received. But that's how I monetize what we do. But like if you go searching for a job in the outdoor industry and you say I want to be paid to hunt, that job doesn't exist.
Right.
That job doesn't exist.
93% of all outdoor TV shows lose money. 93%.
Yeah. There's only, I don't want to name their names because some of them are good friends of mine, but there's only 3 or 4 that make money.
Right.
Yeah.
In my opinion, I don't know, but in my opinion. And the last time I checked, I think there was like 600 outdoor TV shows. Yeah. 600. Yeah.
Well, that's insane. I have no idea. You're actually you've blown my mind. He was talking about it earlier, and he when I say he, I'm pointing at Baker. He was talking about it earlier, and I didn't know what he was talking about, nor did I have the time to kind of get into what he was saying. It's like, no, you have to pay the network, and I'm like, what? Who? It's too deep of a conversation for me to get into right now. But you guys just like blew my mind in how this works. Because for me, like content, rich content, good content, like you just make things that people want to watch, and then
but we're
the
direct to
people speak.
consumer.
Yeah,
so
I
there's
know.
no middleman.
I
Yeah.
know. So my interaction with content is completely different, and I mean not in the sense of like I make great content. We create value through laughs mainly. Like I mean, a lot of people are always like, "Well, your marketing is fucking asinine," and I'm like, yeah, but I don't really look at it as marketing. Actually, I do, because we have to pay the bills. I just look at it as me and my buddy are doing these comedy skits. We think they're funny, and then we put a product in them. That's what we're doing. And I mean, and you've been a part of this, Rich, for how long? And Logan, looking across the table, like ideas that we shoot are literally things that we're sitting in our office or somewhere, and we're like, that's fucking funny. Like, let's
Do our
film
wives
it.
laugh at them? No. Okay,
They don't.
We're gonna shoot it.
Yeah,
We're gonna
they
shoot
don't.
it.
They don't. So it's like you get the best of both worlds. You're like, oh, I'm making the content. I'm not really compromising on a lot. I mean, sure, you do have to go to in some directions. You're like, okay, well, I'm making this piece of content, and I have to make it and hold a standard, and I can't step way over the line because we are very crass behind closed doors, and we're like super un-PC. So it's not that we're afraid of.
I haven't picked up on that at all.
It's not that we're afraid of offending people. We're just afraid of like the backlash of people that don't understand what we're doing.
Well, and you don't want to alienate people just cause. Like, I mean, if you're having fun and poking fun, that's one thing. But if you're just,
just being an asshole.
yeah, just
Like,
just
that's totally
just
different.
to stand on something, then that's No, I wish I could tell you some stories because I have some things spinning in my head that I really can't talk about. But
No, I get it.
Yeah.
I get it. Well,
Yeah.
you were talking about your sponsorships and gear, and we've gone into it in detail. Where it's like, let's talk about the gear you use. Like trying to get Donnie to talk about the gear he uses, like pulling fucking teeth. It's so good because when we filmed in Oregon, we had the same boots on.
I wore this shirt.
We even
I filmed
had
in this shirt.
we even had the same blue jeans.
Yeah.
Same. I was
Yeah.
like, what is going on? And they couldn't even get him to like say anything on camera about
Right.
the stuff. He's like, I'm just not going to endorse him. So playing devil's advocate here, like I totally understand it, but what does that guy do who's trying to just, I don't know, pay rent, right? He's looking like, because we were talking about like athletes.
You mean in the outdoor space? Like they want to.
Yeah, in the outdoor space, or even, me. I've tried to figure this out because it's like we're going into this weird situation in the world of social media with either action cams, Instagram, and stuff along those lines, where the prosumer line between the consumer and the professional is really blurring to the point where it's hard to make a living.
time.
And so you definitely feel the strain of that being a businessman, right?
Yep.
Where, you have Baker here pressuring you to do digital downloads and stuff along those lines. So you were also talking about steps. What is your next step then? Like what do you see that either evolving to, or is there any kind of advice to the guy out there who's just trying to make a living? Is he just bastardizing the platform by doing that? Or
No, I think first of all, whatever works for you. Like if you want to chase a TV show and do a TV show, just my only advice, and this is gonna sound maybe a bit vague, but just be super badass.
Right.
Be yourself, completely authentic. Even if it seems like you're going down the wrong road, just absolutely own it, because then you never have to double talk. You never have to find the root of that lie if you're just telling the truth and just being yourself. And if you're yourself and people are into it, then they're going to engage in you, and then companies and your wares are going to be sold because people are interested in what you're doing. If what you're doing is not interesting, and if you're being true to yourself and what you're doing is not interesting to the public, you need to move on and go do something else. If what you're doing is not authentic and you're not being true to yourself, but you're selling, it's going to be a slippery slope. It's going to be a very short ride. And so I just, if you want to live in this space, do it your way.
Right.
Be different, whatever that means. I mean, I don't do anything different than anyone else. But these are the things that live in my head, and this is how I move forward. And so, I just think through authenticity, and I know that word gets thrown around a lot right now, but literally, you ride that line, you own that. Screw everybody else. Like if it doesn't sell, who cares, man? Like you're doing your own thing, and if you need money to live and be happy. I mean, if you need money for rent, there's a lot of ways to make money. If you need money to buy a Ferrari, well, then I suggest you either be a hell of a lot better with mathematics, or you do something super freaking rad.
Yeah.
One of the two, because it's the only people that are driving Ferraris.
yeah.
Well, it's funny because what you just said happened to us last month, which was a major network came to us, and actually a intermediate, production house, whatever you want to call them, and I'm not that familiar. They came to us and they're like, we really want to do a TV show with you guys.
Of course.
Okay. And they, I was like, I don't answer any of those emails. I've never answered or responded to one of those emails because most of the time it's just change the block at the top and then they're phishing, right? And this guy got through for whatever reason. He reached everybody in the network, and then he got through, and I got him. He was on the phone with me, and I was like, hey, dude, if you're serious about this, the next time that I'll talk to you, it'll be face to face, but you got to buy a ticket and come to Salt Lake, and you guys sit in my office, and I'm gonna fucking hand you your lunch. Like if you don't have your game, like I'm gonna hand you your lunch.
Yeah.
So he flew out and he talked to Big Game, like this is what we're gonna do, and we were all kind of like, oh, I don't know, man, I don't know about this guy. But then the next test was he left, and we were like, what you need to do is put together an organized pitch to us, which is this is the way the story will be crafted. This is what we're going to do. And we were super upfront. Like the guy wanted us to build guns. We're like, we're not gun builders, dude. Like I roast coffee. I'm not a fucking gun builder.
Dude, I've been down this road so many times. It's not even funny.
And it's like he was like, Roger that. Yeah, absolutely. The pitch deck that he sent back, he had spent maybe 15 minutes on it. It was shit for, I mean, it was shit.
Yeah,
He spent no effort on it. And then it was us building guns. And I responded back in a super negative way, which was like, you guys took like zero effort. This is not us at all. Like, you want me to fabricate a story about something that I'm not with fictional relationships. Like, you're asking me to just act. And I'm like, my customers will see straight through that shit. And it'll actually degrade the fucking value of my brand instantly. But what you want me to do is just throw all that shit out of the window.
You've slit your own throat
Yeah.
for so you can be a hat signer.
Yeah, that's
You
exactly.
know,
And
it's
they're like,
sign a hat.
They kept on telling me this. What are those guys? Duck
Sons of
Dynasty
Guns?
guys.
Oh,
Is it
Duck
Duck
Dynasty,
Dynasty?
yeah.
But you guys could be. And I'm like, guys, I don't care. Like, trust me when I say this. I don't want to be them. Like, that's not who I want to be.
They don't want to be them.
Well, you know, it's weird just sitting here. Like I feel like I just kind of answered my own question, and that the three of us have that all in common.
We do.
And that's kind of, it's weird. I see some of these guys coming up in the social media world, be it YouTube, Instagram, or whatever it is, and that if there was any advice that I could give these guys, it would be that. It's like, you reach a certain point where you will have so many people knocking at your door that if you tried to take the time to answer all the freebies or small checks and stuff like that, and I'm not saying to sell out. I mean, if you can check out for the rest of your life, maybe,
Sure. Yeah.
maybe sell out, but but you have to tell people no. And you have to stick to that either moral or ethic or whatever it is that fabric that creates who you are. Because more times than not, whenever I tell brands no, they're like, oh well.
Nobody's ever said no
Nobody's
before.
ever said no before.
Yeah.
Wait,
Everyone
you're
wants a TV show.
you're walking away from thousands of dollars.
You don't want a TV show?
Yes, actually, yes, I am, because in some of these guys I've been talking with, kind of behind the scenes and stuff, they thank me afterwards. They're like, I was like, dude, you're getting better numbers than me in certain areas, and I got paid 4 times what you did on this campaign, and they're like, wait, what? And it angers them. So the next time this campaign comes up or something similar, they tell those people no, and then they come back to me and they're like, wait, I told them no, and then came back with a crazy number, and they're like, they said yes. They said, and so if you take the time in setting whatever your standard is, either monetarily, ethically, or whatever it is, just stick to it, and people will respect it at the end of the day. And the people who don't, you don't want to fucking work with them.
Yep.
Right.
You just don't want to.
Yep.
And so yeah, I mean, I guess I kind of answered my own question in that. And
For me, I'm a survival expert. I'm not, but that's what they want me to be, a survival expert. And the first time Richard Ryan and I met on the phone, there's like 8 people on the phone that introduced us, and they're like, "This is Richard Ryan. He's a weapons expert." He's a So they go on. So I'm just making this up a little bit, but they're like, he's an explosives expert. He's all the way down the line, and so then they go, "Richard, this is Donnie Vincent. He's a survival expert. Professional hunter, which only exists in
what's
Africa."
the first thing we said to each other?
So I get done and I said, "Yeah, Richard," and all the people are still on the phone, right? These are people introduced. I'm like, "Yeah, I'm not a survival expert at all. I pack my backpack for survival, but I'm not rubbing 2 sticks together.
And
I'm using fire paste and a butane lighter and getting a fire as fast as I can, especially if I've just been in an airplane crash. I don't want to rub 2 sticks together." And he's like, "Yeah, and I'm not an ammunitions expert. I'm not a gun expert.
I
I'm
create
not a
shape charges to blow up iPhones.
yeah."
Here, I'm going to pass the mic over. Yeah, pass the mic to Baker.
He's like the counterbalance to Rudy Reyes.
No, hey man, Rudy's just out there like he's doing the best that he can, dude.
No, but
like,
there's a similarity there. Like but it's like opposite ends of the spectrum. I'm not saying there's anything bad to Rudy at all.
yeah,
at all.
no. I'm just I like Rudy a lot. He's a friend of mine. I'm not gonna no, not even close. Yep. Pass the mic over to Rich. Sorry, Baker. The thing that I really like, this conversation is rad because like the thing that Rich and I have talked about, the thing that Matt Best, a lot of people say this about Matt. He's got what 1.3 million Facebook followers now.
Yeah, has more fans than any other.
Yeah, he's the most popular. I fucking hate saying it, like veteran celebrity, but he's a celebrity, man. He's a celebrity, and people. Last week, I was talking to a guy online, actually in a live cast, and he was like bashing celebrities. He's like, "You guys all sell out. You guys fucking do this," and I'm like, "Dude, I'm not actually. I just make the commercials that I want to see. That's all I do. Like, I have a company, a for-profit company. I've never told anybody I'm a nonprofit. I have a for-profit company. I have a roast-to-order coffee company. That's not a plug. I'm just saying, like, this is what I do, and I make the commercials that I want to see. So if you like them, fuck yeah, man, great. If you don't, that's great too. But my product is my product. My branding is my branding. My commercials are my commercials. The consumer will make their choice. And you've got these outside parties that feel that I love how, and I've had these conversations with a lot of people where they'll be like, they want you to be so impressed with their checkbook. And they want you to be so impressed with the resume that they're going to fictionalize for you. So listen, dude, your resume sounds like this. It's like, I know what my resume sounds like. Actually, I'm the one that fucking wrote it with my life. So you don't need to read it back to me, and you don't need to glamorize it. It's just a fucking resume. But I definitely don't need what I don't need is these used car salesmen that are only in the business of an exchange of money. That's all it is. Mm-hmm. Like, and they're the guys that are like, it's more important for them to drive a Ferrari. Right, it really is. It's more important. That's what they're searching. They either want like fame or a Ferrari than to actually know who they are. Mm-hmm. And I'm like, those are the guys that are like, you're going to go out. If that's who you are, and that Italian sports car is going to fucking fulfill you, every spiritual being of your DNA, fucking A, man. Like, go for it. But most of those guys, they're searching for themselves in the wrong way. Mm-hmm. And I'm never going to get along with those dudes. Like, I'm never going to be like, hey, yeah, you and I are going to bro out, and I'm going to be way into your lifestyle. But
yeah,
anyway.
it's just not a blend. It's just not a blend. And I was excited. The first production company that called me, I was like, oh man, these guys are interested in like how we're filming and the hunting, and then they're like, yeah, we want you to find Bigfoot, and a friend of mine actually said, they had that TV show Finding Bigfoot, and so he said he wanted me to do a one-off series, a single episode, and he wanted me to go and kill Bigfoot and just do one episode called Found Bigfoot and just go and arrow him.
That would be so rad. I honestly think that'd be a fucking hilarious video. I mean, if you could do it right, like Spinal Tap,
why not?
Spinal Tap, that shit would be super funny. Like I could wrap my mind around that. Donnie Vincent humping out of the backcountry with fucking Bigfoot. That would be funny to me.
Have any of the big Hollywood production companies reached out to you about your films?
Yeah. Yeah,
like to consult on like stuff, or like, hey, we want you to make one, anything.
Yeah,
like that?
they love the work. They love the work. They love to think about projects down the road and things like that. But they, as far as like the hunting goes, they have a tough time. Citizens of the United States or even the world right now are so sensitive to wildlife and so sensitive to animals losing their life. I mean, we are literally built an infrastructure of safety. We can't have any failure now. Right. We can't have we can't hurt anyone's feelings. Right. Everyone don't upset me. Everyone thinks that if we leave things untouched, both with human beings, let's call it maybe war, it will, for ease of conversation, and with wildlife and wild places, if we just leave them alone, everything's going to perpetuate back into harmony. And we've already created so much chaos that that ship has sailed, right? We will reach harmony again probably soon, but it's going to be, we're going to have 6.5 billion people die off.
Right.
And it'll happen soon. And,
Right.
and we'll have a fancy little bug that pops up or a fancy little disease. And then
Right.
the doubling rate will be so impressive that within 10, 15, 20 days, we'll be down to a couple thousand people on the globe. It's going to be gross, and there's going to be a lot of gooey things around, but it'll be, then you'll have Shangri-La.
Right.
Then we'll have harmony, and then we'll start the perpetual shit show again until we start to use up our resource, or it'll all go away.
And we'll go back to the American Serengeti, which is the way it was 10 million years ago.
Yeah, I mean, that's what's going to happen. We are literally we like to really, we're human beings. We have opposable thumbs. We have huge brains. We're capable of love and war, and we're capable of buying Ferraris and creating TV shows and making millions. But really, we are a freaking grain of sand.
Right.
If you actually step back, if somebody actually shows you the timeline of the Earth, I mean, dude, the T-Rex was here for 10 million years, and he's here for a freaking, we're here for a fraction of a blip of what he was here, and he wasn't here for any time at all. So we're literally just biomatter, right? We're
Right.
here existing, and luckily we have the wherewithal to enjoy our time here. Maybe the T-Rex didn't. Maybe he was just an eating machine and he just took every sunrise as it was, but we have the wherewithal to sit back and watch the sunrise and just think, man, I just got to watch the sunrise, and I'm having a cup of coffee and I'm enjoying my morning. We talked today, and I do think you guys have a concept of doing a coffee commercial about this, because I, for one, have been cold, wet, and scared in dark places before by myself, and I know what a hot cup of coffee does in those instances. But that's what I'm talking about. We, as people, have this wherewithal of enjoying those things and having great conversation with friends, sitting at a kitchen table at a house in Vegas, but this is all just a scam before our eyes, if you will. This is for us to enjoy and to take every second, right? They're clicking off right now. We're not going to get this podcast back. This is a one-way street. There's not to sensationalize the afterlife. It is what you think it is, or it is what you want it to be. But this
is all just a simulation.
The clock is ticking now. That's freaky. That's freaky. Yeah, but that's what it is. And to me, that's what it is, and I just want to enjoy the time.
Dude, I don't know if we can even respond to that. To be honest with you, that was one of the
Sorry,
single most epic thing I've heard
right?
for a long time. It's funny, and I'm not. I hate to keep saying oh yeah, my situation, and so it is somewhat similar. Guys,
Profound.
Guys were why one of the things I really did enjoy my time in combat. Guys are that's fucking crazy. Well, why? Because I would live. And people are what are you talking about? How would you live? I'm because when you are only concerned with survival in the split second, at that time, a split second matters. And there's no other time in life. There's no other time in life when fucking fractions of a second matter more. And when you're more concerned with a fraction of a second than you are with a year, you're living.
Yeah.
And it's fucking weird because when you haven't lived, and you get addicted to just living, it's fucking cool, and you want to live in that reality, not in some kind of existentialist Fight Club moment where it's
forced to be super present. You are forced to be super ultra present.
To be
forced,
absolutely present. And I would for me, when I would look at these things, I was looking forward to the opportunity to live in the fraction of a second. And people were you're an adrenaline junkie. I'm I'm not, dude. I go home. I would come home. I would disappear into the mountains, and I would read, run, and fucking spend time by myself. And then I would go back, and I was just looking for the opportunity to live on a more continuous, on a continuum, which was if I wasn't there, I was doing exactly what I want to do here. And people are fucking people are blown away by that. When I can't even I can't even tell you guys how many times I've never been comfortable saying things like that, because you'll get these responses well, I mean, are you concerned with what Jesus thinks of you or whatever? You're no, I'm not really actually. It's not. It actually doesn't even come on my radar, bro. I'm not super concerned with what.
Did you ever
what is
have
that going
any
on.
any moments of absolute peace over there, you would experience on the side of a mountain by yourself, no light, nothing? Were there ever times when you were over there, maybe sitting on a roof at night and it's quiet, or you're on the side of a mountain somewhere? Like, were there ever like those lucid intervals?
Yeah, I
like
mean,
between sleep and dream, like
I
those
mean,
times.
There are plenty of times, man. Like, and you got to search for those places. Like, you have to search for those places and continue to put yourself in those places again and again. I was in Anajaf, which is a small shithole south of Baghdad, and I mean, there are points in time when I'm searching for that point. On a ridge top somewhere, on a ridge line. Wet and cold in the middle of a fucking river in a canyon that's got fucking 300-foot straight up basalt walls, and it's fucking ripping down rain and sleet and snow, and I'm fucking jamming a boat right up against a fucking rock, and like the only thing I can think of is how do I position this boat? And you're living in fractions of a second again. Like, it's not an adrenaline thing. It's like searching life through whatever activity. So, or it was in like on a Najaf, sitting on a rooftop, going, "This is the most fucking epic thing I've ever seen in my life." Like, the experience was like it literally lights your entire DNA from like tip to toe. You are on fire, and you're like, "This is life." When you get to the point where you don't feel that, that's when you should be fucking scared.
Yeah, I think that a lot of people, can relate to the fractions of a second. That's really the nail, like, on the head. I mean, I think we can all kind of find ways in our lives where those fractions of a second really mean the most. I feel like a douche for even coming close to comparing anything to it. But when people talk to me about wingsuiting, it's the exact same thing. Yeah. It's like, I am terrified of heights. And I'm not even close to an adrenaline junkie. Not even close. And adrenaline is just a byproduct of the situation.
Yeah.
Fear.
What I am after is that fraction of a second, because I juggle 50 jobs.
Yeah.
Right. So I have all of this shit going on in my head at any given time. So when I'm forced to focus on that fraction of a second, nothing else matters. Nothing. That's why when I say wingsuiting is the most spiritual thing that I do, that's because of that. Because there's nothing else I can focus on except for myself and the universe, and that's it. So I think we can all kind of relate to that in some weird shape or form.
That's the same thing Andy Stubbs says about it. Yeah, it's funny because you said your story. You said yours. Andy, former SEAL, same exact thing with wingsuiting for him is getting back to that down overseas, and then the same thing you're saying is that moment of clarity. Like he's about to hit a target and his teeth are about to pop out of his head, and then also like he's just looking for that one moment in time to kind of get him balanced. So yeah, it's interesting to hear you both say that. To have a friend that does the same thing.
For me, it's like there's a lot of weird words that you can use to define it. Passion. I used to always say this. I'm like, I am an artist, man. Like, at the core of my heart, like I am an artist. Like, I'm at one point, I had mastered a specific profession, and I was an artisan in my craft. Like, this is what I did, and I would do it for free, quite literally. When you know that you're doing something and you would do it for free, you still have to pay your bills, obviously, if you have them, right? But if you know you're doing something and you do it for free, like that's a fucking epic place to be.
Yeah, I mean, sometimes when I sit down with companies, they want to know, they want to be on the flip side. They want to know that you're sincere and authentic, and they're not buying into a smoke and mirrors. And, sometimes just because I understand this, I say, this is what I would be doing if I was a billionaire.
Right.
This is, I see a lot. A helicopter.
What's funny, dude, is everybody asks me, like, what are you doing, or what would you do, when you hit a certain number or whatever. I'm like, I'm actually working to acquire wealth so I can take a vow of poverty for the rest of my life. And they're like, what are you talking about? I'm like, you have two different paths. You can go one way and do everything and anything that you want, and there's no compromises, and ultimately you have to deal the hand that you're dealt. And sometimes that's like that struggle will be just your definition of life, and you could live off grid, and this is it, bro. Like, you don't ever have to use money anymore. But fuck, man, that is an extreme hard work scenario. And then you have another one where you're like, okay, well, I can try to achieve at least a certain portion of wealth, so I can do the things that I want to do.
Chase that.
And chase it. Yeah. And then there's that place where most people land in the middle, where they become slaves. And I hate to say it like that, but that's exactly the way I think of it, where every day is a compromise, and every day is just an exercise to get through. And then that's where like, medication, and it's like you're filling yourselves full of like antidepressants and fucking alcohol and drugs or whatever else you got, because you got to get through that day because you hate it so fucking much. But you've got to get that new lamp at IKEA. That shit's badass. And it, anyway, I hate to take up the time, but anyway.
I like that. We'll send you an invoice for that in IKEA.
You want to wrap it up?
I do, man. I hate to do it because like we try to keep them at half-hour segments, but
Sorry.
no, dude, I love it.
Do
man.
not apologize. This is great. Yeah. This is great.
It's a lot of fun.
Dude, Donnie's rad.
I love it.
I want to like have my domestic life partner as Donnie Vincent. If that's
We have another
I'm
TV
sorry.
show.
I'm sorry, my wife. I'm sorry, Kate. Let's
Yeah, so any of you guys want to check out the stuff that Donnie does, best place to go is what? DonnieVincent.com?
Yep.
Yep.
DonnieVincent.com.
Yep. Check him out on Instagram and all that other good stuff, but you can get all of his films there. If you want to check him out on YouTube, you can see all the previews and whatnot. Really, really compelling stuff that you make, man.
Thank you.
Appreciate you coming on.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks,
Extraordinary. Fucking incredible.
Black Rifle Coffee Company, along with Arson Wave, would like to thank you for tuning in to Blackhearted. Have a great fucking day.